Alrighty, so I just wanted to make short, well, I don't know how short it'll be, but little video about these cute little guys, because they're not very popular and I don't know how many people know about them. I don't think that many. So, this little guy is a Caecilian. There's not too many of them around. There's a bunch of different colors though. Alright, so the title is What Are They? So, they're in the class Amphibia. So they're an amphibian. And they're not really sure whether they're more related to salamanders or if they're separate and then the frogs and salamanders are more closely related. It's kind of confusing. But yeah, can't find more evidence either way. So their order is called Gymnophiona. It's kind of cool. And then, so they resemble worms and snakes. Some of them are pretty long. They can get like 4 feet long. But most of them are pretty small. So the original Latin meaning of their name was naked serpent. And some of the traits that define their group, or synapomorphies is what we call them, are their bodies elongate, so they have 95 to 285 vertebrae. They don't have any limbs or limb girdles. Their tail is reduced or absent. This guy, he kind of does have a little bit of a tail, but most of them don't have any tail at all, and their cloaca is actually right at the end. I think there's a picture with one in it later. Let's see. I'll show the range picture and then I'll do the other ones because I have pictures of the other stuff. So there's the range map, pretty much all centered around the equator pretty much, and obviously not in the dry parts of Africa. Okay. So they have a lot of teeth. I didn't have a picture of it, but their skull, on all of the bones of their skull, the bottom of the skull and their jaw, they're all lined with teeth, instead of just having them on the maxilla. And the tentacles that you can see on the little guy on the right, he has these 2 tentacles here, and they're actually derived from, the tear ducts of the eye, because the eyes are reduced. So they got that in the levator bulbi, which is the muscle that extends and compresses the eye in frogs and things, runs the tentacle. And then just the skull, I think, is the last one. So, obviously, because they're, well, I should have said that first. But because they're burrowers, they have a really highly reinforced skull, very ossified, and they've lost and fused a lot of the cranial bones together, so they don't have very many. And they distinctly have a bone called the os basal, which is just the whole bottom of the skull, and then the back part are all one connected piece. Alright, let's see what's... Oh, and then, well, this is more of a synapomorphy of amphibia in general, but they have glandular skin, and I just wanted to point out the defining feature of these guys. Yeah, they have annuli, which are, you can see the segments on the outside of their body. In the other picture, that's what this little ridge is that the arrow is pointing to. And then you can see they have intradermal scales. That's what this little, actually, use that. That's what these squiggly lines here are, the scales. There's another one over there. And then, the glandular skin, you've got poison glands, and then just the little mucus glands up at the top. And is the locomotion next? Yeah. So their locomotion's kind of weird. You've got, like in snakes, they have concertina and lateral concertina, but these guys have internal concertina. And this works because their skin and, their body cavity and the skin and the muscles aren't connected to each other. So they move their body against each other. So like the body cavity presses against the skin and it kind of moves inside its own body instead of, it's kind of confusing, but you can see this picture shows, you know, it presses against the walls of the tunnel, and then in the bottom one you can see how the muscles squeeze, increasing, you know, the hydrostatic pressure pushes the body forward. And you can see it here, that's more like, you know, like a worm. Pretty much just like a worm. And, now I'll do the behavior, which is probably the more interesting part. So like I was saying before, so some of them are fossorial and some of them are burrowing. Fossorial means that they always stay underground, they don't come above ground for anything. And then burrowing means that they live underground and then they come up for, you know, some certain things. And they burrow head first. Some animals burrow butt first, I guess you'd say. And then they use that locomotion. And that I talked about. And then last thing I'll talk about, and then I'm going to make another video next week talking about it more because it's really cool, is their reproduction. So all of them reproduce with internal fertilization. There is no external fertilization for any of the species. And some are oviparous, which means, okay, there's two types of oviparous. So there's, some are oviparous, and then when the eggs hatch, they're larvae, and then they metamorphosize later. And then some of them are oviparous, but then the young just develop, you know, directly into the adult. There's no metamorphosis. And then the majority of them, 75%, are viviparous and give birth to live young. And so, and then what I'm going to talk about next week is pretty much all of them, or all of them, have some sort of parental care with, you know, varying degrees and some interesting methods that I'll talk about next time. One's really interesting. So I'll see you guys next week with that, and have a good day.